Leafs in Montreal for the first of four meetings in the next week and a half ish, 2 weeks maybe. So there's going to be a lot of the Leafs pounding away on the Habs. So that's a lot of fun to look forward to, right? Tonight was for all intents and purposes, it looked like a close game. The shot totals were really close and whatnot. The pace of the game was really good at both ends. But you could tell the Leafs were handling the Habs fairly easily tonight. You could tell that nothing was going to really get out of hand in terms of from Montreal's end of things. The Leafs just are a far better team than Montreal is. And with the parity in the league, you're still going to have competitive games, even if one team is a fair amount better than the other, because that's just the way it is now. But you could tell by looking at this game that, oh yeah, they're the far better team, right? And fortunately, the Leafs got out to an early lead. Just over a minute and a half in, they got an early power play, and they converted on it on the first shot of the power play, first shot of the game. And it was nice to see this power play because they moved the puck, especially during the sequence when they scored the goal, a little more, less methodically, more naturally, organically, quickly. It looked like the power play from the start of the season, right? So, and the way it worked is they were throwing it around the zone, and some really quick passing. It came down to, I think it was, who was it in the corner? Was it Marner or Matthews? One of the two, I think. And then they just threw it across crease to Nylander, who was Johnny on the spot on the far side of Jake Allen, and he tapped it in. It was a really nice goal, just with the quick passing, right? Just how they can read and react and know where each other's going to be. They make what's actually really hard seem really friggin' easy, right? So that was the first goal of the game. And then just before the 9-minute mark, Matthews highlight reel goal. It was, I can't remember who it was, somebody on the left side in the Montreal end fed Matthews a pass. Maybe it was Simmons. I can't remember. Somebody that wasn't, or maybe it was Foligno. Anyways, I don't know. Somebody on the left side tried to feed Matthews a pass. He was kind of cruising towards the slot, but it hit a Montreal defender and went up in the air, and it was in and around the player's kind of chest area, and Matthews skated towards him, knocked the puck out of the air down onto the ground around him, and then just as soon as it was about to land, he just whipped a shot at Allen, and it beat him just low on the glove side. It was just kind of like the goalie was, what the hell just happened, right? It was just such a skilled hand-eye move, and then to whip that quick shot off before the puck even hits the ice, right? It was just a crazy kind of goal. So, and that's the way the first period would end, was 2-0 Leafs. And then I think in the second period they took a 3-0 lead, 6.5 minutes in maybe. And it was Muzzin. He let a shot from the point go, and I believe it hit a Montreal defender's stick in front of the net and bounced down and in. So one of those typical shot from the point, let it hit something and go in type of goals. And later on in the back half of the period, unfortunately, Jack couldn't keep the shutout intact. Suzuki made a good shot on him and cut into the lead to make it 3-1 Leafs. Oh, but then in the third period, the Leafs would add a fourth goal on a bit of a miscue from Allen when he came out to play the puck. The Leafs dumped it in around the right side. Allen came out to play the puck behind his net, and it just snuck past him along the boards, and Spezza was right behind him and was like, oh, thank you for that. Fed it out in front to Adam Brooks, who then tapped it in. And that was the way it would end, is 4-1. And even when Montreal started to press in the third period, as the team that's trailing invariably always seems to do, the Leafs just handled them. Their D was strong. I think it was. I commented on one of those games against Winnipeg, or maybe both, that it was kind of a total team effort, right? Like, you didn't have one or two guys who dominated the whole game. You had guys on every line who would dominate every once in a while on a certain shift, right? They'd have a really good shift, and then you may not notice them as much for a little while, and then they have another one. But it was always somebody having a really good shift. I think every Leaf forward had left some kind of mark on this game with their play. And it's funny to see, like, Thornton had such an involved couple of games against Winnipeg, getting nasty, and again, he just seemed to be nothing got to the point where it did in Winnipeg, where he was going after somebody, but he just seemed to be a lot more energized, involved in the game, and had a really good game. Simmons, I think, is building towards something special. He just seems to be more feeling it with each game that passes now. Spezza collected an assist tonight, and now he's tied with Maurice Richard on the top, within that top 100 point getters of all time in the league. Somewhere in the high 90s, I think he is. Of course, Marner and Matthews and Nylander. Nylander and Matthews both scored in that. Those top guys always, for the most part, seem to leave some sort of a mark on a game. Tavares had a pretty strong game too, especially in the third period. He had a point streak going that unfortunately he didn't extend, but he really started to press in the third period, hit a big post. And Mikheyev looked really fast and quick. So did Kerfoot. They looked really energized. So yeah, it just the whole forward corps in there looked really good. And they were talking about how the Leafs now, with the acquisition of Foligno, who's now in the lineup, Riley Nash, who hopefully can start skating and practicing soon. They've added these extra bodies, and now the internal competition within the Leafs team and system has become even more intensified, right? Now you got Pierre Engvall as a healthy scratch, right? Because they got these new guys who are playing so well. So you've got all these guys really, striving to play well and be in the lineup and be better than that guy who's out of the lineup, right? So they can keep their spot, which is always a good thing for the team's success, right? So that's a really good problem to have. And then in terms of the D, Bogosian, like I said, he's out roughly 4 weeks, they said, but Sandin is just, he has stepped in and he's just been so solid. And again tonight he threw his body around. He's just a little guy too. He threw his body around again a little bit, hacked and whacked some guys, really poised with the puck. I think he's going to be a beauty. So that's good that if a guy like Bogosian or somebody else goes down for an extended period of time, they know they have a guy like Sandin they can call up and still be fine, right? And then Jack was just awesome. Like I said, the Leafs handled Montreal pretty well tonight. They did get their fair chances, top quality chances though. But Jack was there to close the door, other than the one Suzuki shot, right? So he seems to be back more towards how he was playing during that streak and that record he set. So, so all things right now are pointing up again. So, it's like that big start to the season that was so awesome, and then that little skid that was like, and then they got going again, and then another skid, and now they're hopefully ramping back up again right as the season's kind of coming to a close. So this could all be perfect kind of timing, right? So, so overall, I loved everything that went on tonight. I wish they had actually played a little more physical like they did in that Winnipeg series, just because, Montreal's such one of our biggest, if not the biggest rival, and you really want to, you not only want to, beat them and make their chances of making the playoffs slimmer than they already are. I mean, they're still in that fourth spot, but they've been losing lately, and Calgary's hopefully going to catch them, or something's going to happen. Although I do want to see a Toronto-Montreal playoff spot. I always want to see Montreal just be miserable because it's always nice to see the Leafs beat them, but I wish they'd taken a little more of a physical toll and pounded on them a little bit, right? Because they're going to have to come playoff time if they do end up in a series together, so they may as well get started on it now, right? But I digress. So anyways, a big 2 points. We beat the Habs, which is always fun, and we'll get to do it 3 more times in the next little while, so I can't wait.